Hey, it's Alex from BoardGameCo, and we have another week of, well, Kickstarter goodness in front of us. It's actually getting to the point. Do you know that next week we have, I believe, 16 that I know of, 16 Kickstarters launching next week. That's just in the next 7 days. That's all. Not like in the next 3 weeks. In the next 7 days, there are 16 Kickstarters launching. It's getting to the point where I'm going to have to start picking and choosing. And don't get me wrong, I already miss things here and there. Sometimes something slips past, especially if it's smaller. But it's getting to the point where I'm going to have to start picking and choosing what I cover, just because there is a limit to the amount of prep time I can actually do to accurately cover this stuff. It's good. I'm happy the industry's going. I'm happy the Kickstarter is fun and exciting. I'm also just wary of overcommitting to stuff that I, well, can't do. That being said, with all that going on, let's cover the 20 plus links that we're going to talk about this week. So yay. And to begin with, we have Ambush Epic still not funding. I won't always be covering every single one again. This is one that I want to see it funding because it looks adorable, and I am a sucker for, well, art. I'm a sucker for art, for pulling me in. The game has to be good, obviously, but the first thing that I need is for you to make me want to play you. And Ambush Epic looks adorable. I am sad it's not funding. Don't get me wrong, even if it was funding, I don't know if I'd back it because I haven't looked into it that much yet, because I don't do that extra level of research until it's actually funding. And that's Ambush Epic. Check it out if you're on the fence. From there we have the Scare Factory. The Scare Factory is currently, unfortunately, this is one that was very interesting. It was on my radar, and it's kind of looks like it's a very village attack style game, in the sense that you're going to be playing as, well, the villagers are kind of heading into your castle, into your domain. You're playing as these half, not really monsters, but evil bad guys or whatnot, in the Scare Factory, as people march into your village and you have to control them. There's going to be elements of picking your characters, building a better board, or using your abilities. A lot of interesting things. The game itself is very much the type of game that is up my alley, but again, I haven't looked into it extensively yet, just because, well, they're very, very shy of the funding goal. This is one where I'm kind of expecting there to be a cancellation and a relaunch, just because, I mean, 5-6 days into the campaign with 61 backers, it is very unlikely they'll make it, unfortunately. But yeah, take a look. There were some reviews already. They did look interesting, and yeah, very much my style of game. I don't know if it would end up competing against the world of Zombicide, Black Plague, of Cthulhu Death May Die. I don't know how well it would hold up, and that's the realm it's fighting in. That being said, if it's that style of game, I am paying attention because, well, that's very much my jam. From there we have Regency. Regency is another one that I don't know if it's going to be funding. This is going to be a very tight one. We have 11 days to go, $4,000 left, and this is a light card game where you basically, I believe it's 2 players only. 2 to 6 players, sorry. Each player has one of these little player boards representing a regent, and they're going to be trying to effectively collect 6 types of people. Combine that with some card play in terms of being able to steal people, block stealing, do different things. It's basically a little bit of a card management, a little bit of tableau building, a little bit of just player abilities and powers. Looks intriguing. Take a look if it seems like you're up. If it's yeah, there you go. Take a look if it seems like it's up your alley, and that is Regency. Next up, we have Pets and Pirates. Pets and Pirates is a game that also is going to be pushing it a bit. This one is more likely to fund based on 22 days to go and $4,000 out of $5,000, $500, but it is more likely to fund, but keep an eye on it. This looks very much like a classic, just a common pool of cards, people drawing cards, doing abilities. It's a light game. It's a very light game. This is not, a classic gamer's game by any means, but I believe the specific reason this was created is because the designer's daughter said she wanted to play as a pirate. She wanted to have a little pirate game where she could play a female pirate, and those games aren't common. I will say, check out Rum and Bones. Rum and Bones is chock full of female pirates. I will grant probably a little bit out of the age range of your daughter, but it is chock full of female pirates if you want a ton of those. Past that, though, if you're looking for female pirates in a lighter kids game, Pets and Pirates has you covered, but keep in mind it very much is just a light little card game. From there we have Quin. Quin is one that I'm kind of surprised is not funding, honestly. Quin is, it looks beautifully produced. They did a great job with the game. This is one where I was actually not interested initially, and I'm a little bit more interested now, and I'll explain that shortly. But basically, this is one where you have this objective of kind of getting to, I wasn't 100% clear if it's getting to the middle or just get something else. It's something about getting to the middle, I believe, but you're playing in a very Stratego-like game where your pieces are hidden to your opponent. It clips onto this magnetic board, so each piece clips on magnetically, and they're going to be swapping places, different movement styles, so you're at a certain point you're going to reveal information just because of the way you're moving and doing things, or or if you have encounters with other players, you'll end up revealing pieces. So it has very much a stratego element as you try to tactically maneuver towards the middle. It looks interesting, looks engaging. I was actually initially not interested because there's only one exception historically for games that have actually done well for me that have a stratego element, and that would be Lord of the Rings: The Confrontation. Every other game has absolutely failed. I tend not to like it. I don't like the guesswork. I don't really find it to be deduction. I just find it to be annoying. But Quin actually has me more interested because of TacTiki, which I played and really, really enjoyed. TacTiki will be covering later in this video, so we'll get up to that as well. But now I'm like, oh, you know what? Now there's two of them. Maybe it's just Stratego I don't like, and the rest of them are totally fine. If done well, it could be very intriguing. And so yeah, Quin, I'm surprised it's not funding. I believe it will be funding. 11 days to go to cross that line. I believe it will fund, but it's definitely on the lower side. Take a look, check it out. If you like light two-player abstracts, I shouldn't say light. If you like two-player abstracts, take a look at Quin, see if it's for you. And then lastly, this is the last one we have that's not funding before we get into the updates, and that's going to be Dungeon Decorators. And Dungeon Decorators, and first of all, I want to jump to the video here because I thought this was hilarious, and I'm sure people noticed it, but you know, over here, wait, you see what's happening here? Right, in this game, you're going to be redecorating a dungeon. And so you see that toilet over there? And look, the toilet changes into a throne room. Do you get it? The throne room changed into a throne room. You see, it's funny. I thought that was actually really amusing. But Dungeon Decorators is a game where you're going to be trying to accomplish, it's a tile drafting game where you're going to be trying to accomplish different goals. You're going to have both this like kind of polyomino grid style goals, as well as the actual bosses of the dungeon that you'll have to accomplish certain goals for them. So it's kind of has an element of pulling a tile that meets your needs, designing a dungeon in a way that meets your needs. Looks like a light, simple game. This is going to be by Slugfest Games. Same people did the Red Dragon Inn, so it's got a solid company behind it. Looks like a cute, interesting game. I will cover it more if or when it funds. I imagine it will. I mean, 35,000 with 11 days to go. I imagine it'll cross that finish line just fine, and we will cover it more then, hopefully. Although 11 days to go, I guess it's next week or nothing, right? So possibly next week we'll talk about that. Which brings us to Cactus Town. Cactus Town is the first and I believe only update video we have today, and that's going to be, actually, I think Frostpunk might have been an update. I can't remember if I did Frostpunk in last Monday's video. I think I did, actually. In any case, Cactus Town is basically going to be, they released an all-in pledge. They had a bunch of expansions, a new all-in pledge. So if we scroll down over here, they have the, where was it? I had it a minute ago. We are going to have the, nope, not there. Where was it? I had that right there. It was literally right on my page. I cannot find it. They basically introduced a whole bunch of new expansions, a ton more content, and they introduced an all-in pledge to go with, well, all of that. And so if you're looking for that, that's going to be the duo sheriff, or nope, the all-in pledge for €94 or €111. This is going to be, here we go, the Kickstarter exclusive €94 deluxe edition. It's going to give you the Cactus Town deluxe edition, the Lost Chief expansion, the Lone Ranger expansion, the Stampede expansion. They have these adorable pets that they've introduced, so they have a whole bunch of updates. If you look at the most recent update, it's chock full of tons of information, of tons of stuff that they've been improved, stretch goals they've reached, just a lot of stuff to be aware of. If you were interested in this game, it's just a better deal on what was already a decent deal last week. Last week, my overall opinion came down to this is one that you might lose a few bucks on. It's not going to be like an amazing back, but it will probably be a relatively safe back in terms of if you need to resell it if it's not a fit for you. This just pushes it further over. This if you're going for the all-in pledge. The discounts you get on the all-in pledge, they're basically getting everything there, makes it a slightly better back. Still not, an amazing you must get this or whatnot. And keep in mind, it does seem to be on the lighter side, and so that's something you want to factor in. They did note that if you're on the fence, go ahead and just pledge for €1. You'll lock in your pledge manager pricing. If you do that, it's unclear if you'll be able to have that same pricing if you jump on later. So if you're on the fence, pledge for €1, and that gives you time, that buys you time to decide if this game is for you, because by the time you watch this, there's not a lot of time left on this game. Next up, we have Frostpunk, which I think is another update. I think I did cover it last Monday. But Frostpunk, no major updates here. They just have more stuff that they've been revealing in terms of both stretch goals and daily unlocks. Again, they're killing it, absolutely killing it for a first-time creator. Granted, they have the IP of Frostpunk behind them, so it's not just them being a first-time creator, but nonetheless, lesser companies have had great IPs and not done nearly as well. So great congratulations to Glass Cannon. They're doing a phenomenal job, or seemingly phenomenal job. Like I said before, the game looks great. All that killing orphan stuff that we've talked about in the past. Over here we have the daily, where we go, the daily unlocks are somewhere down here. Over here we have day 5, day 6, so yeah, so you can see the daily unlocks, just more buildings, more 3D stuff. This is definitely the kind of stuff that's going to push you more towards that 3D pledge, because, I mean, the game, one of the biggest things for me was what looks better. I'm not interested in the game myself, but what looks better, the miniature pledge or the 3D buildings pledge. So it's going to be one of those things that pushes you more towards that 3D building pledge, but either way, Frostpunk, check it out, and from there, we go into the new stuff. So, Fray, Champions of the Eververse. Now, this is technically new, but it's actually a campaign I already covered. I covered their initial campaign back in June when it launched, and at the time they didn't successfully fund. Right now they are funding, so I'm glad for them. My overall opinion isn't going to shift significantly there, although it is better because, well, it is funding. And that is that my overall opinion of Fray, Champions of the Eververse is that it is contending in a world full of incredible games in this genre. And this one looks good, not incredible. The art is good. The miniatures are good. The cards, the player board seems to be a little text heavy, a little clunky. Everything seems good without seeming great. Now, don't get me wrong. It could be an absolutely phenomenal game. And if that's the case, then this is going to be well sought after. In general, when you have these sleeper hits, games that just people love and they go on and on about how great they are. And I think Gatefall from last week is a good example. Gatefall, which has a 9.2 on BoardGameGeek. Whenever you have these games that really hold on to a lot of fan-based love and attention, those games tend to do better on the aftermarket. If Fray hits that, then good for them. But that's betting on a long shot, and I don't bet on long shots. I go with what looks more realistic, and while Fray looks like it'll probably be a totally good game, I don't think it'll be an amazing game, and to that end, the pledge levels I think are fine. They look very reasonably priced for what you're getting. They do have some Kickstarter exclusive expansions, Kickstarter exclusive champions, which will help you in terms of holding its value, but I think nonetheless, this is one where if it's not a game for you, you're still likely to lose money on reselling it on the aftermarket. So, looks okay. If you're interested, jump on in, support the publisher, all that, but if you're concerned about holding its value, I think this is one that's less likely to hold this value. From there, we have Crescent City Cargo Captains of the Gulf reprint. So this is Crescent City Cargo. This is one where, this is from, from Spielworks Games. They've done the Macher reprint. They've done the Tribune reprint. This is one that it's also going to be a Kickstarter exclusive game. We're currently at 462 backers, $35,000 backed. I'm not going to go too much into the game because I don't know, and I didn't have time to go into it fully in detail, so I just don't have enough information to talk about it competently. But in terms of the exclusivity, the limited edition is a special release, not likely to go into distribution. This Kickstarter project and limited number of games at conventions will be the only way to get the game in 2021. And then in 21 and 22, they're going to be selling it via their website, BGG website, direct sales. So it will not be entering the normal distribution network, which means expect it to be harder to get its hands on and or a little higher in price. That being said, direct sales on Amazon, you may still end up seeing a lower price. All that said, looking at their past games, looking at Die Macher, for example, Die Macher is one that has not held its value compared to the Kickstarter in terms of looking at the secondhand market. Even if it is a game that is harder to get your hands on, it is one that you'll unlikely to get your full pledge level back, whether the $59 pledge for the Crescent City Cargo or whether $99 for the Captain's Cargo, especially once you factor in shipping is like another $14 if I'm not mistaken. And so that's going to make this a game that's very hard to see your money back in terms of selling it yourself down the road. In terms of getting it yourself, your primary options for a while will be either the Kickstarter itself or going to the secondhand market to see if this is a game that you want to buy yourself, where I think you will be able to get it cheaper. Not a guarantee. In general, there's no guarantees. This is all about where you want to hedge your bets. But with 462 backers, depends how well the game does. There are other games that have not had a ton of support either, and yet have managed to make the way into the secondary market for cheaper. So if you want to lock yourself in, back it now. Practically speaking, I wouldn't. I just don't think the price or the guarantee is there. For Sale Autorama and For Sale Advisors expansion. This one is, I'm going to, I guess, cut to the chase. This one is probably an easy pass unless you just want to get it sooner. Now, granted, I will say that this falls very much into that category of I'm talking about being an easy pass to save yourself $5. So if you really want the game and you want to get it, 3-4 months earlier, then yeah, $5 to get for an expansion for Sale. I love For Sale. Well, I can't easily grab it here. I don't know where I put it. I must have moved For Sale. But For Sale is a great game. I love For Sale. I'm all for an expansion for Sale. Also, Autorama represents a new art or reprint of the game. And I'm all for what they are selling here. But price point wise, I think you can skip to we have a few pledge levels. We have $9 for the expansion or $29 to get the game and expansion in either the original or new art. So those are the options there. The problem is when you go and then it's plus shipping as well. The problem is when you go into the Why Back Now section, I have to find the section, but when you go into the Why Back Now section, they basically say straight up it's to get it earlier. They don't say it that way. They're a little bit more obfuscating in terms of what they say, but they go through the reasons to back this game are you'll get it earlier than other people. They will guarantee that even if it's available for 90 days after the Kickstarter delivers, it'll be available for MSRP or price locked, so this will be the cheapest way. And then after that, after that, you can get it. There's no Kickstarter exclusive here, at least none that I could see. There is a metal coin set. I will say, if you want the metal coin set, that might be a good reason to back this one. But otherwise, it's just you're just getting it earlier and or supporting the publisher. Supporting the publisher is great. If you want to do that, and if you want to combine the supporting the publisher, the fact that you're getting it 3 to 4 months earlier, and the fact that you can get access to metal coins, then by all means, the three of those combine into a great reason to spend $5 more. But if you really want to factor in what's the best price will be waiting to retail to get it later. From there, we have Project L Finesse. Project L is a game that I put up a few reviews on already. I put out a review of the base game and the expansion. So to begin with, before we get into the value proposition here, great game. I highly, highly recommend this game. It is simultaneously accessible and yet surprisingly deep and tight. It's an engine building game more so than a polyomino builder. It's definitely got polyominoes, but it's really all about building your engine, building a slightly better engine to more efficiently build out your little, cards full of polyomino chiclet tiles. So great game. I really do recommend it. As far as the value proposition, as far as whether this is a game you should back on the Kickstarter, overall, I think yes. And the core of this is going to be the limited ability to get this game otherwise. If you look at the secondhand market in terms of being able to get Project L, if you look to see how much it's being sold from the secondhand market, well, it's being sold for more than you backed it on the Kickstarter, because it's a reprint. I didn't cover that, but Project L Finesse is a reprint and an additional expansion to the original game. And so, yeah, if you want to go to the secondhand market, it will be harder to get your hands on it. In terms of retail, it's kind of hard to get your hands on the game in retail right now. There's not a lot of options to get the game, and so the pricing, like if you look at Miniature Market, for instance, the pricing is actually trickier because the pricing looks better than the original Kickstarter, but it's not available. It's sold out. So the limited retail availability and the fact that it's just hard to get your hands on, combined with the secondhand market showing that it's obviously a game people want and is doing well, means I do recommend checking this out and potentially picking it up. It is a decent amount of money for what is effectively a light polyomino engine builder. So it's not particularly cheap. That being said, you're getting a very premium game, very deluxeified components, a million double layer player boards, the pieces, the box, everything about this game screams nice, deluxe, beautiful. I highly recommend picking up this game. I think it's an excellent game. I think if you like polyominoes, it's great. If you like engine builders, it's great. If you want a game that is simultaneously both a great gateway game that will also reward they'll award players looking for a different experience with a tighter economic engine kind of going on, not economic, but an engine, then this really fits into both worlds. I really like Project Elite. I really like Project L, and I do recommend you pick it up. From there, we have Twisted Fables. Twisted Fables is by Dimension Games. This is going to be Dimension Games is the company that brought you Deep Madness and Dawn of Madness. Their previous games are more Kickstarter based, not really retail distribution. So in terms of Twisted Fables is a hybrid. This is a 2-player. That's not true. I think it is a 2-player. I think it might be 2 to 4 player. I think they had a 2 versus 2 mode. But this is basically a head-to-head dueling game where you're trying to both of you pick a various character such as Cinderella, Snow White, or whatnot, all female characters, and just that you have a twisted version of them. And then you're having a little battle back and forth to see who can win. There's going to be a retail option for $35, which I do not recommend getting. I'll get to that shortly. And then a $75 deluxe edition, which is a much better option if you are interested in this game. The $35 retail edition is basically, they're saying that it's going to cost you, I believe they said $35, I believe, let me see if I can find the amount over here. They had the amount, the MSRP over here. The $35 is a $45 MSRP, and they're charging you shipping of I think it was $10 or $14. So they're basically charging you the full price of the game to get the game, which it will be cheaper in retail after the fact. And the big thing in general, I say this a lot, if there's a retail edition and the price plus shipping doesn't make sense, then just wait for retail, unless you care enough about the game that you're willing to bypass having much more reviews and pay a higher price to get it, just so you can get a game earlier, which again might be for you. That's fine. So yeah, the retail option, that core pledge, I would not recommend it. I think that's just I think it's not a great option to buy. Versus the deluxe pledge is a much better option in terms of giving you $75 that gives you both expansions. It gives you player boards, it gives you sleeves, it gives you miniatures, it gives you deluxe miniatures for all these instead of standees. So a lot of extras come in that deluxe pledge. We have full foil epic cards, 10 highly detailed miniatures, storage trays, card dividers. Gives you a lot more options in that deluxe pledge if this is a game you're interested in. The flip side is then once you pay shipping, you're paying $85 for a 2-player head-to-head deck builder. Now it does come with the 2 versus 2 upgrade cards, so a 2 or 4 player head-to-head deck builder, I shouldn't say that, a 2 to 4 player head-to-head game which is going to be fairly expensive at roughly $85. As far as will it hold its value or not, I think it will. It's a tough one to guarantee. I mean, there are no guarantees, I've said that before, but I think it will hold its value in terms of the game so far seems to be decently rated. King of Average put out a great review of it. You should watch that. He really liked the game, and he's definitely someone who is very happy to let people know when he doesn't like a game. And so I think that the combination of the game being good, plus the miniatures, plus Dimension Games, and plus just being exclusive content, I think the Deluxe Pledge will probably hold its value. But from there, what else we have next? So, in terms of myself, I'm actually very interested in this game, but I have to look into it further, and that's because in theory, I am all in on this game, in theory. The problem is in practice, I have over time gotten rid of a lot of these two-player games that require knowing each other's decks, because I find that I just don't have the time or the repetitive play to really learn the nuances of someone's deck back and forth. So I am simultaneously incredibly interested, while also not being certain if I'll actually be getting my hands in it just yet. Which brings us to Veiled Fate. Veiled Fate is a tough one. It's so fascinating to me because I will cover Kickstarters. I did a full video on this one. I did a full video on Veiled Fate, and I will cover Kickstarters and get different reactions from different people. And even within Veiled Fate, if you look at the comments on my video, I have so many comments from people who are saying, because my overall opinion of the game comes down to the fact that this is it's a strategic deduction game for 2 to 4 players. Looks very intriguing. It very much reminded me of a game called Clans, and again, I did a full video, you can check it out, but it's a game that it is fairly expensive compared to the components you're getting, at least at a surface level look. In terms of the price point, just pretty high for what you're getting. And then there's deluxe versions on top of that. There's all these different options there. Despite that high price point, I think it will hold its value just because if you look at Moonrakers, their prior game, Moonrakers has that exact same problem, and yet so far has held its value. So, and the way I put it in my video is I said this is one where I would have called it wrong. I would have said this will not hold its value, because of the high price point to components and first-time publisher that they were at the time, and I would have been wrong, and that will happen. So Veiled Fate seems to have the exact same audience, the exact same fan base, exact same everything that they had the first time, and so I think Veiled Fate will hold its value. And then in the comments of my last video, I just got a complete mix of people responding, in terms of I had people who were just going, nope, overpriced, hard pass for me, way too expensive, hard pass. There's a ton of people who are even harder than them about the price than I was, which is fair because I'm just focusing on the resale value, which resale value holds up even though the game's expensive. Versus you also had a lot of people who are saying, nope, they're an amazing company, look how much they care, look at what a great job they do in this sense and that sense. So Veiled Fate, their company, Ivy Studios, clearly has a passionate fan base, while also at the same time having a lot of people that haven't yet been converted. I just find that so fascinating to see the different types of responses people get, compared to, let's say, companies like Mind Clash Games. But everyone in my channel, when I did a top 10 publisher videos that I like, I had a ton of support for Mind Clash Games and Awaken Realms, where I had left off the list, and a ton of people who just loved it. So Ivy Studios clearly has both fans and people who are not yet converted in my audience. So that was very interesting for me to watch. But again, Veiled Fate ultimately comes down to it's a game that I think will hold its value while being fairly expensive for what you're getting, at least at a surface level appearance. Comparing it to other games, it does seem overpriced. Comparing it to whether you can back this one and sell it for what you paid for it, if it's not for you, I believe you will. I am actually very interested in it, and I'll be trying to get a tabletop simulator game in to see if it's my kind of game, because like I said in my other video, I love Clans. I love the premise of Clans and just wish that I had a better game behind it. And if this does that for me, if this is the premise of Clans with a better game behind it, well then I'll pay the price. I'm fine with it. I don't mind paying for deluxeified games, and it does look very premium, albeit component light compared to what you're paying. Next up, we have Unforgiven, the Lincoln Assassination Trial. This is a fascinating one. So this is at 526 backers, 31,000 raised, 12 days to go. This is by Green Feet Games, and this one is simultaneously a game that I have no interest in, but I feel I'm wrong for having no interest in it. What I mean by that is, you look at some of these testimonials. We have Rado and Tom both gave amazing testimonials. Rado said that it is basically a game that they drastically prefer. Let me find the exact quote so I don't misquote it. But they basically said they prefer to Seven Wonders Duel. That exact quote is, Jen and I prefer this so much more, ... Those ... are interesting. Hugely ... over Seven Wonders Duels. It's incredible. Assuming those ... are not like abused, which I hope they're not, I just assume they're not, well, that's a pretty powerful sentence, right? That's a pretty powerful sentence to say that this is and over here we have the same thing over here, right over here. Unforgiven is my new favorite two-player game, unseating Seven Wonders Duel from that honor. Seven Wonders Duel is like, what, it's number 17 on Board Game Geek, something like that? That is insane. That is something that I should really 100% be interested in this game, right? And yet I'm not, because the theme just has no interest to me. the theme, the art style, the whole everything going on here holds zero appeal to me. This goes back to my thing on Ambush Epic. Sadly, the first thing that game needs to do is visually convince me to play it, and then from there it needs to be a good game as well. Despite all the incredible testimonials for Unforgiven, it just doesn't interest me. And I think that's probably true for a lot of people, because everything else going on the table there, everything else in terms of the quotes and being compared to someone as dual and unseating it, any other theme, I think you'd have 2, 3, 4 times the number of backers. I think the theme is probably not helping this game. It does make it stand out, but stand out unfortunately doesn't work. At the end of the day, slap a medieval fantasy sword on people, and people are more interested in that than a Lincoln Assassination trial. So it is this weird middle space. As far as holding its value, sadly it's going to be, well, not sadly, it's going to be a little bit of a mixed bag there, which is, I am skeptical that you'll be able to sell this for its value if you just look at the pledge levels and the pricing over here. So if we look at the pledge levels, down over here, we have the core box for $29 on an MSRP of $38 plus shipping. The collector's edition $44 plus shipping, and shipping was like I think it was $14 if I'm not mistaken. I'll come back to it. 44 versus 55 MSRP, 75 versus 95 for MSRP for the all-in pledge, and the shipping was, let's see if we can find over here, $11 USA. So you're basically paying full MSRP to get this game once you factor in shipping. That's the bad news. The good news is their games are actually not as readily available. Greenfeet Games, their games are not as readily available as you would ideally like, and so the MSRP only really ends up being a factor if you can go to your favorite online game store and see that the $38 MSRP board game is on sale, or not even sale, is regularly priced at $29 or $30. At that point, of course, you have to compare it up. But if it's not available anywhere else, then this might be your best chance to get it. So this falls into that weird space where comparing it against pure MSRP, not worth it. Comparing and valuing against the fact that this is a game that is likely not as readily available when you actually want to get it down the road, and this might be your best opportunity to get it. Factoring in what you can sell on the secondhand market, you'll probably lose money there. You'll probably eat the shipping in terms of being able to resell this down the road. Just looking at their other games like Patriots and Redcoats or whatnot, if you compare those games there, their games historically, you can get your money back, but you will lose on shipping on the secondhand market. So that's Lincoln or Unforgiven. Very interesting middle space there. Intrigued by that. But next we have Lost Ones by Greenbrier Games. Now Lost Ones is being compared, well, it's interesting. So Lost Ones is kind of a narrative slash exploring an island situation over here. Saw a lot of comparisons to Seventh Continent. I think it's more surface level because sure, it has these tiles you're laying out one at a time and then putting them on the board and then, exploring or whatnot. But then from there you go to this narrative adventure guide, playing it out. It seems to have like a surface level Seventh Continent, but far more focus on the story. The price points here are interesting. We have a few pledge levels. We have a $30 for the base game pledge. That's basically the retail pledge. It's going to be a MSRP of $39.99, plus you're paying the shipping. So this one is once you pay the shipping, may as well wait for retail. There's no reason to get the retail base game pledge unless you just want it earlier. But price-wise, you're basically paying an extra $10 than you should to compare to getting it later, plus, doing it with less reviews on the table. Next, we have the Kickstarter pledge for $60, which gives you the miniatures. So all these miniatures we're seeing here, it gives you those, it gives you the sleeve, and it gives you all stretch goals that come with this level. This one is harder to judge because of the all stretch goals that come with this level, because as of right now, there's nothing that I saw in terms of stretch goals that come with this level. It didn't seem like there were any. It seemed like the stretch goals were for the deluxe level, or I think there was a Kickstarter exclusive art sleeve, so you're not really getting a lot extra here. They are doing something interesting here, which I kind of find interesting, which is they have that miniature box on the side over here, the base game over here, and then they're using the sleeve to hold it together, which is an interesting use of a sleeve, makes the sleeve more essential, but also more annoying or less annoying. It's a very intriguing idea. I like the concept, and that way it fits up on a normal shelf in terms of their other games, so it changes the box size. Very intriguing idea. I don't know how it plays out in execution, but overall, yeah, you're paying basically, compared to this retail pledge level, and plus the extra shipping and whatnot, you're paying more than $30 extra compared to retail, because if you are comparing this to retail with the shipping levels, where the shipping options we're going to have over here. So the $30 base pledge, $14, so it's going to cost you $44 to get a game that you'll be able to get for $30 at Miniature Market down the road. You're paying 50% more to get this game now, while waiting for not giving yourself a chance to see all those reviews. That $60 Kickstarter pledge is going to cost you $75 compared to getting it at $30 retail, so $45 more to get a bunch of miniatures and a box sleeve, which doesn't seem like it's worth it. It does not seem like it will hold its value. It does depend on what else is added to that stretch goal, because they said and stretch goals at this level. And then lastly, we have the $120 pledge, which I will not overly go into because in order to correctly evaluate the proposition there, I'd have to look at the other games in that pledge level because they're going with a copy of Dreams and Shadows in terms of from their previous Kickstarter. So that requires looking at a whole different Kickstarter to see what the price points are there. But overall, as of now, we'll see how it plays out because if they continue to add stretch goals, it might change the value proposition. But as of now, I just don't think this is one that will hold its value at all, unfortunately. Next up, we have Fearsome Wilderness, the board game and miniatures collection. This is an interesting one. This is basically a survival game. It has a very pandemic legacy style of play where you have 2 chances to go through each sequence, and then before you move on to the next one, then you have to survive again during winter. It's a survival horror thing, which is both giving you a print and play game if you want it, or alternatively, they are offering you to actually print out the components for you. And that alone makes me think that this is one that is unlikely to really hold its value. You will find the occasional person who wants to pay for it because they're like, oh, I want to get that game, I don't want to deal with printing out myself. Because over here we have the physical game for $49, the all-in physical game for $84. So they have options if you don't want to 3D print the components out yourself. But overall, you're going to have to find someone who's willing to pay reasonably high prices to get this down the road. I think you will potentially be able to find them. I certainly wouldn't rely on finding them down the road. So yeah, this is basically Fearsome Wilderness, which is going to be a hard one to. Yeah, it's a hard one in terms of the value proposition. Second last on the list, we have TacTiki. TacTiki is one that is, this is an annoying one. And what I mean by that is, so first of all, I've played this game. I have a review coming Saturday. I really enjoy this game. Really enjoy it. I basically played it online, tabletop simulator. I reached out to the publisher and said, hey, I'd love to do content because I liked the game. And they sent me a game. And, well, that's not technically true. Technically, I got it from Quackalope, who had the game. But in any case, I did a review of it. I really enjoy it. I highly recommend. Give it a shot on tabletop simulator. Take a look. See if it's for you. But I also think it's overpriced. Now, I do think you're going to get the game a lot earlier, significantly earlier than the alternative, and the alternative is even a maybe there. What I mean by that is Draw Lab Games, they do have retail channels, and their games do go into distribution, but it seems to be there's a pretty long gap in terms of, for looking at their past Kickstarters, there seems to be a pretty big gap in terms of when their games enter retail distribution, if at all. I don't know if it's 100% across the board that TacTiki will enter distribution. At 30, what are you paying over here? You're paying, basically, for the standard edition of the game, you're paying £27 or €35 plus $35 plus shipping to get this game. And it will likely be cheaper in retail. If you look at some of their previous games, comparing the Kickstarter price to the retail price, I think that price-wise alone, you are going to have you're going to be able to get this game significantly cheaper if you're willing to wait. That being said, I don't know when it's going to be entering retail. Like I said, if you look at their other games, there seems to be a very long gap. You might be talking about a full year extra, if possibly even more. There does seem to be a lag in terms of that when backers get it versus when it enters retail distribution, if at all. So it's kind of a risk one. It's like, if you want this game, back it now, but if it enters retail, you'll have effectively probably overpaid. For me, I really enjoy this game, despite this. So I recommend the game, and you'll have to make your own determination as to whether you want to take that risk of, will it enter retail? Will it not? Do I want the game? Do I not? There is a slight memory aspect to the game, but it's not really. It's far more about the bluffing than it is about the memory. Yeah, solid game. Check out my review. I do recommend the game. The price is a bit more of a mixed bag. Lastly on this list, we have Kabuto Sumo board game. Kabuto Sumo board game by Chad Deshawn by Board Game Tables. They are, first of all, I will say, they do an incredible job at making all their games, despite them being so different, fit into a common package of how well the games look, how well they're presented. They manage to kind of a very Days of Wonder feel with where games look totally different, but also feel the same at the same time. So kudos to Board Game Tables for, in general, just putting out a solid line of games. Kabuto Sumo is one of those games that's going to echo those arcade games where you push a little coin in and 14 coins fall off. You're trying to do that. You have this little board over here. You're going to be pushing a little wooden token on, trying to knock things off. Combine that with different player abilities from all the different insects and whatnot. They have a few pledge levels. They have the Kabuto Sumo for $29, and then the Kabuto Sumo plus Insect All-Star expansion for $29, for $44. Both of them have $4 shipping to the US, so very reasonable shipping. And then in general, the short version with their games are, they do a great job holding their value. I don't know how they do it, but in general, their games, Board Game Tables, all their games so far have done a pretty decent job at being hard to get on the secondhand market without paying a premium, or you can just pay like $5 extra to get it on the website. So if you want to wait, you can probably get this from Board Game Tables down the road. They frequently do reprints, they frequently offer their other games on other Kickstarters, but you probably will pay a bit more for it. So this is likely your best opportunity to get Kabuto Sumo at this price, but not a huge savings either, and not like it's not going to be available down the road, but it is is a good deal in that sense, because like I said, their games just tend to manage to hold their value across the board. They produce solid games, not amazing games, but solid games that people enjoy, want, and feel nice, look nice, whatever it is, all that stuff. As far as the game for myself, I actually really want it for my kids. I think for myself, I'd play it twice and then be bored. Generally, dexterity games are not my thing as much, but I can totally see my two boys just, they have this game, I can't remember, they Ninja Paw or Kitty Paw. They have a little ninja dexterity game. You're trying to like see a pattern and draw some tiles from a floor or whatever. I think they would really enjoy going back and forth on this thing, trying to push stuff off. I think it's totally up their alley. I will likely be getting this game basically for my kids. For myself, like I said, I'll play it once or twice and call it a day. I don't actually know if that's true. I could play it 15 times and really enjoy it, but I'm just going with my own projection of where I think this would lie. But yeah, Board Game Tables does a solid job, interested in this game, and we'll see where it goes, and it will hold its value in my opinion. And that is basically all the Kickstarters for today. No major heavy hitters, I guess. I mean, we have a lot of popular stuff. We have multiple campaigns here with thousands and thousands of backers, but currently, with the exception of Frostpunk, I guess, this week we are finally light on those giant heavy hitters, but next week is a whole different story. Until next time, I am Alex Radcliffe from BoardGameCo, and I hope you have a good one. So, for those waiting, no major, anything here. No magic tricks, no singing, none of that. But for those who did stick around, there is a reward, small reward, but this is something I actually do on my Patreon channel every week. Every week on my Patreon, I post a schedule for the week ahead and which videos I'm going to be doing in that week. And so now I'm actually going to tell you the schedule for the week as a secret bonus for anyone who made it to the end. And every week, I think I'm going to just Monday videos. I'll probably end up doing this on a fairly consistent basis of finding some pattern or something I can do at the end of the video as a little fun, sneak peek. But I'll try to mix it up. So I have to be creative. I have to do something different every single week. But for this week, the schedule for the week coming up is going to be, well, Monday, which you're watching now, is going to be the whole to back or not to back series, the Kickstarter roundup. On Tuesday, I have to check on Tuesday. I might be changing what shows up Tuesday. Tuesday is either going to be a small box games collection, or it's going to be 10 Kickstarters that I've backed in terms of, I'm starting to do a video series also for my Patreon. They voted on it in terms of games I'm excited about, games that I backed, not games I'm excited about, games that I backed that are waiting or pending. And I'll probably actually do that tomorrow because I was actually going to do that, whatever, we'll see. But so tomorrow we'll have that, one of those two. Then on Wednesday, we probably have the Townsfolk Tussle Should You Back It video. On Thursday, we have the Darkest Dungeon Should You Back It video. Friday is going to be the Freedom 5 Should You Back It video. And then Saturday, we have a chunk of reviews. Saturday, we have Freedom 5 review. We might have a Pipeline review. I'm not sure yet. Shadow Network review, hopefully. Endless Winter review. TacTiki review. I think that's it. So there might be 5 different reviews. There may be 4. I'll have to play this out depending on what I actually get. But those are likely the reviews going up on Saturday. And then on Sunday, we're probably doing a Nova Aedas Should You Back It as well. So that's basically the schedule. A lot of Kickstarter stuff, a lot of reviews, a few other stuff. And that is the schedule for the upcoming week. I will note, I say this in my Patreon thing when I put this up every week, everything's subject to change, and on a regular basis, usually at least one of them does. There's always so many things happening, so many Kickstarters coming out, or just my own schedule where I don't produce a video that I thought I was going to get done in time. Like Freedom 5 was actually supposed to be this past Saturday, but I didn't get it done in time, and so it's going to be next Saturday, so we'll see how that plays out. But that is basically the schedule for the week. Thanks for sticking around to the end, and I'll see you tomorrow.